Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into a really fascinating, incredibly powerful cognitive toolset called Flex Thinking. We'll be relying entirely on our source material to map out exactly what this framework is going to offer you. And trust me, it offers a lot, from uncovering some major hidden career advantages to giving you entirely new ways of seeing the world around you. Okay, let's dive into this with a question that honestly sounds a bit like a riddle. What don't you know that you don't know? Our source material begins by pointing out that this whole concept is really about uncovering our own cognitive blind spots. I mean, think about it. It's pretty easy to go looking for answers when you already know what the question is, right? But what happens when the very parameters of reality are totally hidden from us? How can we possibly make an exhaustive list of what we might discover if we don't even know it's missing in the first place? Well, that mystery is exactly what Flex Thinking aims to unravel for us. Which brings us to this concept of the invisible box. Now, we hear that cliche phrase, thinking outside the box, all the time, but the source text suggests something way more profound here. It argues that there is a myriad of things right in front of us every single day that we simply do not see, and the reason we don't see them is because we're trapped inside an invisible box of our own making. These aren't just obscure facts hidden away in some dusty library somewhere. We're talking about tangible opportunities, super obvious solutions, and entirely new perspectives that are sitting right there in our immediate field of vision. Flex thinking is the process of suddenly realizing, oh, wow, the box is actually there, and then finally learning how to step outside of it. Let's look at Section 1, the pragmatic payoffs, specifically your career advantage. It's so vital to ground these cognitive concepts in actual reality because flex thinking isn't just some abstract philosophy. It actually yields really powerful, everyday outcomes. First off, you're going to perform better in job interviews. When you aren't restricted by those predictable, rigid thought patterns everyone else uses, you naturally become so much better at thinking on your feet. You end up impressing interviewers with the sheer freshness and agility of your thinking. Second, you get more frequent promotions. I mean, if you're in a healthy work culture, the ability to genuinely think outside the box is a massive asset. It basically turns you into a highly valued go-to problem solver. And third, entrepreneurship. Flex thinkers are the people who suddenly see a brand new business opportunity appear as if right out of thin air, because they recognize a demand that nobody else even realized was there. Moving to Section 2, the interpersonal board game and resolving conflicts. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why human conflicts happen in the first place, as we move from our careers to our personal relationships. The source text actually describes interpersonal problems as a situation where one person's invisible box simply crashes into another's. Think about it through this analogy. Imagine you sit down to play a board game with a friend, but completely unknowingly, each of you has read an entirely different set of rules. Person A is operating strictly by Rulebook A, and Person B is operating strictly by Rulebook B. You can easily imagine the intense frustration and arguments that would instantly pop up. As you learn to notice the walls of your own box, it becomes dramatically clearer how a situation might look from inside the other person's box. It's a total game changer for how you relate to people. Next up, Section 3, Scaling to the World, where we look at tackling global challenges. Expanding our scope again, recognizing our own invisible boxes actually scales all the way up to existential threats. The techniques outlined in the source material hold immense value for massive worldwide challenges. Take climate change, for example. If we stay trapped in the invisible box of, well, this is just how things have always been done, we literally can't innovate. Flex thinking allows you to actively take part in the global redesign of how we as humans provide for our needs. But, it's not just about massive systemic redesigns either. On a smaller but equally vital scale, you can use these exact same techniques to find really creative ways to make personal lifestyle changes. Changes that directly contribute to that ultimate goal of stabilizing the world's climate. This takes us to Section 4, Escaping Consensus Reality, or the Trap of Lockstep Thinking. So you might be wondering, if these skills are so incredibly vital, why on earth aren't they taught in schools? Why is it that people usually only stumble upon these skills later in life, like in their 40s or 50s? Well, the answer lies in what the text calls consensus reality. As it's defined here, consensus reality is our shared way of bundling the myriad objects and ideas we are exposed to into common forms. Now, to be fair, this isn't inherently a bad thing. By maintaining these common ways of dividing up the world, we can communicate super efficiently with each other. We all instantly agree on what a chair is or what a standard business meeting is supposed to look like. But the downside? We end up thinking together in complete lockstep. Because we all share the exact same mental models, problems that are unsolvable by the group will inevitably stymie us individually too. We get stuck, purely because everyone else is stuck. So, The crucial point is understanding the really delicate balance of assumptions. We often hear people give the advice, hey, you shouldn't make assumptions. Well, according to the source material, those people are actually wrong. We absolutely need assumptions just to navigate the world. They're the shortcuts that allow us to manipulate objects in complex situations on a much higher level, without getting totally bogged down in every tiny detail. The danger, the real trap we fall into, happens when our assumptions are mistaken for absolute reality, when we start believing our assumptions are exactly what is. When that happens, a closed world emerges and we lose all of our mental flexibility. And this brings us to a really powerful climax of this argument. The map is not the territory. This famous saying perfectly encapsulates the danger of confusing our mental models with actual reality. Think about it. A map is just a helpful tool to navigate the terrain, right? It is not the actual dirt, the mountains, or the rivers. When we forget that our consensus reality is just a map, we start actually believing that the edges of the paper are the literal edges of the universe. Flex thinking is what reminds us to look up from the map and actually observe the real territory in front of us. And the crazy thing is, the reason we stare at the map so intently is entirely because of how we're conditioned. Teachers, unable to see anything beyond their own shared assumptions, just naturally teach what they were taught. The source uses a brilliant analogy here. It's like water to the fish. For these teachers, and subsequently for most of their students, there actually is no box at all. The water is entirely invisible to them. There is just what is. It's exactly like the frames of your glasses. When you first put a new pair on, you see the frames everywhere you look. But over time, your brain just filters them out, and those walls that literally constrict your vision become entirely invisible. Let's move forward and see how this builds into a really practical strategy for a simpler, more satisfying life. The source material assures us that we absolutely aren't doomed to just swim blindly in the water forever. Flex thinking presents cases of simple creativity and extracts these really important, highly learnable principles. Step 1 is just acquiring these principles, and the great news is they are accessible to anyone. Step 2 is actively using them to see your daily problems in entirely new ways, literally stepping outside that invisible framework. And step 3 is the ultimate goal here, turning those once frustrating problems into clear opportunities for coming up with totally novel solutions in literally any domain of your life. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative thought. If the walls around you are completely invisible, if your reality is just a map that you've accidentally mistaken for the territory, what massive, life-changing breakthrough solution is waiting just outside your current field of vision? Because once you finally recognize the water you're swimming in, you unlock the ability to fundamentally change your life. Thank you so much for joining this explainer. And remember, keep questioning that invisible box.